At LinkedIn, we know hiring is a big deal for your small business. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. LinkedIn uses data that you can't find anywhere else to give you the best candidates, all so you can feel confident you're hiring the best person for the job. And even a little hiring bliss. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/achieve. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to...
They're going to call it a hard foul. They're going to call it a hard
foul. Here we are for another episode of They're Going to Call It a Hard Foul. As always, Jim and Mike Quigley here to talk about the Celtics. Mike has his camera off because he got so hammered for the Super Bowl last night. He's green and hungover, and he can't handle this. That might not be true. It might be true, but we're going to go with it. Do you want to start over again?
No, hey, let's get this thing started. A good night for New England Patriots fans who are worried about Patrick Mahomes catching Tom Brady. And we are a Celtics podcast, so we'll cover this Knicks game, Jim. This was another example this season, the Celtics showing up in a game against a team that apparently they respect because they put effort into it, and the Celtics dominated from the start. Really on both ends. If the Knicks didn't get the whistle that they got, this would have been even more of a blowout. I don't see the Knicks cutting that game to 3 in the third quarter without the help that they got from the refs.
Yeah, I thought some of the officiating was a little bit ridiculous, but it really the Celtics are a flip the switch team. Like, I don't know how else to really classify it. You can now go back to that Dallas game and say, like, there's nothing to take from it. And maybe that Philadelphia game really is nothing to take from it. They just have the ability when they want to show up and play at a high level. And then there's some games that clearly they are not motivated to go. In this Knicks game, they were ready to go. Madison Square Garden, a team that is a game and a half behind you, obviously made all the offseason moves. They have 2 all-star starters. You have 1. And I think the Celtics took it to them. And if you're a Knicks fan today and you're honest with what you watched out there, you have to be petrified of what you see on defense with Karl Anthony Towns.
Well, I'll tell you this: Knicks fans, they're pretty delusional.
Most fans are.
Yeah, I mean, if a lot of what I'm hearing is we were missing OG and Mitchell Robinson. If we had them, Jason Tatum doesn't score 40, which
maybe
that's
yeah.
I think he still scores 40.
Yeah, are you telling me that Karl Anthony Towns is on the bench and Mitchell Robinson is in and playing most of the fourth quarter? Like, maybe that does have an impact, because when they cut it to 3, Mike, right around that time, I think I sent you a text that said, let's stop putting Brunson in the action and forcing that matchup, and let's just start going after Karl Anthony Towns. And that's exactly what they did. And it just the Knicks at that point were a mess. You get a Karl Anthony Towns in space, you're either going to get a layup against him, or if he, plays off you, it's going to be an open jump shot. They try to trap you. It's an open, try to trap Tatum. It's going to be an open look for Derek White. And that's just what happened over and over and over again. I thought I saw Tatum was something like 8 of 8 against Karl Anthony Towns. Um, he looks like he's on skates. And he was so bad defensively last year that when his offense went in the Western Conference Finals, he got benched for the entire fourth quarter in one of the games in the Western Conference Finals. The guy that you traded a shitload for got benched in a key playoff game because he's so bad defensively. And this isn't anything new. We spotlighted this before the season started, Mike. We spotlighted this last year against the Timberwolves in the fourth quarter and overtime. The Celtics just found Towns and went right after him. And when things got tough, the Celtics found Towns and went right after him. And then, as an extension in the fourth quarter, when Towns came out, they went after Brunson with great success. And the Knicks on defense against the Celtics, they have real problems. And we talked about the Celtics getting any shot they wanted to against the Cavs in most of their matchups, and the amount of threes, and most of open look threes they got against the Cavs. It's the exact same thing against the Knicks. When the Celtics are completely locked in offensively, they get whatever they want because those two guys are on the floor at the biggest moments, and they just they're not even league average defensively. They're bad. It reminded me of Mike when the Celtics were playing the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, and any times, and as Kanter came into the game, I mean, even when he played okay defense, the Heat's confidence was so high against him that it felt like they scored on every single possession. That's what that third quarter reminded me of with Karl Anthony Towns. And obviously Tatum was fantastic and got to the point where his confidence was so high he was unstoppable. But that's what I saw. That's my biggest takeaway from the game.
Yeah, I think in 2 games this season, the Celtics have just been the much better team. And they're able to hunt those matchups versus Brunson and Towns. They were really going after Brunson in the first half. The Knicks made their run, but it's the same thing we saw last year. The Knicks would kind of make some runs, and the Celtics would just pull away because they were just that much better, and the Knicks don't match up well. Bridges clearly struggles covering Tatum. I know he's respected around the league as a really good defender, but he hasn't played Tatum well in any of their matchups. Neither is OG when he was in Toronto. So the Knicks are a team that really don't scare me as a Celtics fan really at all. If there was a 7-game series, I think at this point we know if the Celtics are fully healthy that they just present so many matchup issues for New York. And on the other end, defensively, I think the Celtics match up really well. The Knicks aren't a move and shoot team. They're kind of stationary. They don't really move the ball well at all. It's a lot of Brunson ISO, a lot of Karl Anthony Towns ISO ball, and that's kind of the perfect recipe for Boston Celtics defense. The standings were getting close. The Knicks offense has been really good this year, but I'd be shocked if this New York team were able to beat the Celtics in a 7-game series.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even be shocked if at some point the Knicks pass the Celtics in the standings because of, what we talk about with the on-off switch with this team. But I have no fear of the Celtics being the 3 seed and having to go to the road to Madison Square Garden and win games.
I'm starting to have no fear with any of the teams in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah,
even in the 3 games against Cleveland this year, the Celtics clearly were the better team in all 3 games.
Yeah.
And against Cleveland, they were really only healthy for one of those matchups. So, things are looking good right now as far as when they play teams that they respect. The Celtics are a really hard watch, though, for the majority of some of these games this year because their effort and concentration clearly isn't there. But it doesn't look like it's carrying over into bad habits against teams that they show up for.
And that's what you're most concerned about.
Yeah, their defensive intensity. I mean, one thing I will put out there that I've been thinking about is that they are playing better without Kristaps Porzingis this year. Now, Kristaps Porzingis is playing really well
Yeah.
when he's out there. He certainly is, and actually, probably on both ends. There's been games since he's come back where he's been the most consistent offensive player. But the guys around him haven't played up to that level with him on the floor. It could be an on-off thing, but they have looked a little bit better offensively without him.
Yeah, no, there's certainly been times. Although I thought against Cleveland they looked great offensively, the ball just didn't go in as much as it should have. That they got every shot that they wanted in that game. But yeah, no, I think that's been part of the issue is that this starting five together has not synced like they had last year when the going was good for most of the regular season.
Yeah, it just seemed like against New York there was a lot less 5-out. There was a lot of movement, using their bigs in different ways. It's just interesting. I wonder if they have to adjust their game plan when KP's in. Um, they like to go to that matchup foul line extended. I think it's a really good matchup, but I don't know if they're. I think they're maybe that 5-out with him just isn't as effective as it was last year.
Maybe. I also think the Knicks, they have so many advantages against them on the offensive end that even with KP, they would have found them. But I hear what you're saying. It hasn't been as smooth as it was last year with KP, but I that's still your best five, and you gotta keep plugging away and make sure it works because in the playoffs, that's going to give you your best chance. As good as Luke Kornet was, I mean, and Al Horford has been, you still stand you have a much higher ceiling with KP, obviously. Mike, in terms of defensively against the Knicks, did you notice that they had Tatum playing Kyle Anthony Towns to stop
Yeah,
possessions? And
yeah,
so,
they did.
yeah, so like, once again, they weren't really afraid of. They were more than happy to give up that post, and if they had to send a late double, that would be okay. But they kind of looked at this as, all right, you want to play the two-man game with you and Brunson? Well, we're not going to switch Kornet on that or Al. We're going to switch.
It's winter, and you can now get almost anything you need for the coldest months of the year delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a ski slope delivered, but you can get dish soap delivered. Sunshine, that's a no. But a bottle of wine, that's a yes. A snow angel, sorry, no. But angel hair pasta, Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol and select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
We're going to switch Tatum. And it just showed their lack of respect, too, for guys like Josh Hart. And,
Yeah.
Because you were playing double big the whole game. So that means Al was either on Bridges or, Kornet was on Hart. And when
I think it was a real lack of respect, probably, too, for Precious Achua.
Precious Achua. I just called
yeah.
him Princess Achua. I didn't mean to, but he kind of played like a princess in that game, so maybe it's appropriate. Yeah, but it wasn't just with him on the floor. They were doing it, all game, really. And so it was just interesting. It was the same approach that they took to the Mavericks last year. I wonder if they can use that approach if OG is healthy, but it was interesting that it was essentially the same defensive game plan that you saw against the Mavericks in the finals last year.
Yeah, and it kind of took away his 3-point shot.
Yeah.
And I know that in the first game, they did the same thing this year. and they were going, and New York was
It
going
was
to Cat
Holiday
on.
on him to start, remember?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
New York was feeding him on the post, and he was actually scoring, but it hurt their spacing.
Yeah.
The Knicks really had no spacing in that first game because they kept feeding Cat on the post. And the Knicks were kind of able to stay in that game because that guy Quentin Grimes came off the bench and just was hitting every three he put up. But yeah, on both ends of the floor, the Celtics, I really they brought the right energy. They were upping guys, and if it wasn't for the foul baiting of Jalen Brunson, which he's become the Joel Embiid of point guards, and I don't understand why he gets the whistle that he gets. This game isn't close, and I thought the refs were atrocious.
I thought they were bad. Yeah.
It was hard to watch, and the NBA was supposed to get rid of this foul baiting on the 3-point shot, and every game it's still happening. And they have to fix this. Guys going to the free throw line for 3 shots because they're throwing their body into somebody or getting tapped on the elbow or the wrist. Just take it out of the game and don't call it, or make it 2 free throws.
Well,
So
I
there's
think
less
if
of
you
it.
get tapped on the elbow, you have to call that. That affects your shot. You have a tap or any type of hit on the elbow is gonna rearrange what you're doing.
I
Uh,
agree, but but guys aren't jumping straight up and taking a normal jump shot, is my point. So sometimes when they get tapped on the elbow, they're still jumping forward into a guy, not really concerned if the ball's going to go in or not. So they're not actually taking jumpers. They're looking to get fouled. Or they're still kicking their legs out. Which, then the ref is like, oh, we got to go watch it on the camera to see if this is a flagrant foul because did they step on your foot or not? Which that that happens, and we need to take that out of the game to protect players after Kawhi Leonard. But now guys are still kicking their feet out, and still getting the calls. And they got to fix it. It's awful. And the flopping's got to stop. They were supposed to call technical fouls for flopping. I don't know if you were watching the Milwaukee Bucks and Sixers game yesterday, but Joel Embiid's up to his old shit. He's flopping all over the floor. He's getting fouls for it. Giannis does it. Like, why is this still happening? And then you have Tatum go to the floor hard. And like guys don't get the call going to the basket hard, but you reward these guys for just like flopping all over the place. And that's what Jalen Brunson does. He flops all over the place.
yeah, and he like jumps into you on the up fake, so that I thought was taken out, especially
Can't stand that.
if a guy, goes to contest the shot on the up fake and then lands, and then you go into him. Well, that space is now the defenders. And that's exactly what happened on the Derek White three. It was the way the rule is, Brunson made the up fake. White made the contest, but he landed in his space, and then Brunson went into him on the shot. Well, that means Brunson went into his space. And so that should not, like when Doris Burke was saying, "Oh, that should be a foul." She was wrong. In actuality, the white one actually was a foul because he made contact, like kind of running out at him, made contact with his side. It was one they shouldn't have called. I just like technically it's a foul, but you probably keep your whistle away there. Um, the officiating was just really, really poor. It was to
They
the
need to
point
get
where it
back to
felt like they
like
were trying to keep the Knicks in the game in the third quarter with what they were calling on one end and what they weren't calling on the other. But fortunately, the Celtics, didn't let that bother them and took it, put it in their own hands and took advantage of the game and put them away.
yeah, well Tatum went bananas.
And White, yep, Tatum and White,
Yeah.
yeah. I think White
But
had
like
14, Tatum had 19 in that third.
when I think back to like 2010, 2011, it was like a shock. Like Tony Allen would come out and foul a jump shooter. And we'd all be like, this idiot continues to foul 3-point shooters. But it wasn't like every single game there were guys going to the free throw line for 3-point attempts. And I think it's a huge issue. And I think a lot of the times it's debatable whether these guys are actually shooting a three or not, if they're actually shooting with the intent to score. And what's the point of shooting if you're just looking to get fouled? It's awful and it's really unwatchable. And I
Well,
really think they need
I
to fix
haven't
it.
noticed it as much as I noticed it in the Knicks game or anytime Harden plays. I think the foul on the three is going to go up because the volume of threes is that much higher. And the league kind of, with this new flagrant rule, has made it really tough to defend on on a hard closeout. So it's put defenders in a bad way in a lot of ways. When the volume's so much up higher and now the way you have to close out is almost straight up. But I hear what you're saying with the leg kicking out, but sometimes the leg kicking out is just is a guy's natural shot. Like Tatum kicks his leg out, but that's kind of his natural shot coming off the dribble.
Then
Um,
he shouldn't get to go to the free throw line if he kicks his leg out, whether it's natural or not.
yeah.
But like,
But
and
if someone makes contact with
with
anywhere
his
in the
arm,
shooting
that's
motion,
different.
then yeah, he should go to the line.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, it's tough on the refs, it's tough on the defenders. It's a byproduct of the amount of threes that are going up. I do think, you know, they got to legislate it better in terms of the up fakes and jumping into guys. I even think, look, they don't have to. They've done a better job, especially with guys like Damian Lillard. Of okay, that's a foul, but it's a side out, right?
Yeah.
And I think with Brunson, they got to kind of review that, and guys like Harden in the offseason and start saying, that's not really a basketball play that they're making there. There's contact, there's foul. You should let it go, but if you don't, side out.
But that's the thing, it's inconsistent. They'll do it for like they'll start the season doing it the right way, and then they'll just stop. And it's also Steph Curry, it's also Trey Young. There's a lot of guys that do this. And yeah, I'll get off my soapbox here, but it's not basketball. That's not basketball. Um, you know, even Luca does it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Celtics look good. I fully expect this game against Miami for them not to show up at all. It might actually be a good opportunity to just sit Tatum and Brown and play bench players and just let them play hard.
I doubt that they're going to sit them both. They may sit one because of they're both on the injury report. But they usually split these guys up. I wouldn't be surprised one of them has tonight off and then another one against the Spurs on Wednesday. But yeah, I saw them both. I mean, we can't go through this getting by the Knicks game without mentioning Luke Kornet. Yeah,
And Kata was great.
Kata defensively, offensively, Kata was really indecisive. I thought at times, jumped late, got out of his role late. Sometimes would catch a ball and undecisive on whether to go to finish or a kick out the pass. But he was great on the offensive glass. He was great defensively. Whereas on the other end, Luke was very decisive offensively and extraordinarily effective. He was 7 for 7, right? I think they asked Tatum after the game if Luke should have shot more, and Tatum said, "No, Luke shot enough." But 7 for 7, just spot start. KP's sick. You find out in the free throw, the layup line, and
3 block shots too.
Reebok's really good at the rim. Did his job. Really, Joe Mazzulla talks about the Stay Ready group, and obviously he was staying ready and was really good, really effective. And the depth at that position. And this is what I wanted to hit on, is you in the offseason really talked about him deserving a bigger payday, and you were shocked, happily shocked, when the C's signed him to the minimum deal and brought him back, when guys like Andre Drummond is getting like a 2-year, $20 million deal to back up Embiid.
Luke
They've
needs
had
to
him
fire
on a
his
bargain
agent.
for a couple of years now, and it's really been a huge benefit for the Celtics.
Luke needs to fire his agent.
Yeah,
He does. This is ridiculous. I cannot see him coming back to Boston next year. I think this is the last season Luke Kornet plays here. I, he's got to get paid, right? Somebody's got to come and make him an everyday player. He's too good. He's really good. Every time he plays, every time he gets opportunity, he plays well. Um, he's been doing it for 2 years now. He dominated Bam Adebayo in the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm.
Completely took him away. He's completely changed his game from when we first saw him come to Boston. He was hanging around the 3-point line to what he is now. He's reliable. He passes well. He makes the right play. He plays off Tatum and Brown really well. He's a guy who's he's having his best season of his career. It's been great.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an Eastern Conference team that wants to contend, it hurts the Celtics and it helps you, right? It's kind of if you are able to give him more than the minimum, and I know some teams are not going to be able to do that. Um, like you look at the Pacers right now, you tell me that he couldn't have helped them at the center position this season with all that they've gone through at that position.
You look
Uh,
at the Lakers right now.
yeah,
He'd be the
yeah.
starting center.
Oh yeah. But I'm just thinking, if you're an Eastern Conference team, you want to hurt the Celtics. This is the way to
Yeah.
do it, right? And you bring in
Mhm.
someone that can help at the same time. Um, it's really surprising coming off a championship that teams weren't trying to pluck Celtics players away that contributed, and he contributed in the playoffs, especially in that first round against Miami. Um, yeah, no, so it's interesting. It's interesting. I know the C's would love to keep him beyond this year. Unfortunately, they're kind of limited on what they can offer Kornet. So it's going to be
I mean, unless
really interesting what's out there.
I mean, they're probably going to have to move salary this offseason, and
I would think so.
it kind of makes sense looking at the way they're constructed with the bigs that they have. That, um, Al might be retiring, so I don't know, but with the ascension
Yeah.
of Cater and Cornette, I think the question is, would you rather be able to, who's more valuable in the open market, Holiday or Porzingis? I would think that teams might be more eager to trade for him at this point than Holiday.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking in terms of Kornet is if Al does retire and you're able to somehow get under that second apron, then you're able to offer Kornet a taxpayer mid-level, which I think is like 8 million a year, right? So that would be
Yeah.
a way that if you and I mean that's a question for the off season, not now. And I have no idea what they would need to do to get under that second apron. Probably a bunch, but that's probably the one way you could bring him back, and that would be obviously raise the question of what you actually need and how you would want to use that mid-level exception. Um, Oh, Mike, you mentioned the Miami Heat. They're coming up. And then you have Wemby and the Spurs with Fox, which I'm really looking forward to on Wednesday. And then you get the All-Star break, right? And
Yeah, the
so,
Miami Heat, Terry Rozier coming into Boston. Maybe he's going to drop some bets before the game. So any bookies in town,
has
have
he
your
been
book.
playing? I haven't
He's
really
been playing, bro. He's
been
been
playing.
playing.
Okay,
Yeah, all the bookies
I
have your
feel
books
like he's going to
open.
show up to a game and the feds are going to be at one of them.
You know, business is good. Terry Rozier's in town to all the local bookies in the North End. Be ready. Have your phones on.
Yeah. I guess I guess that's one way to look at it. You do wonder if there's a criminal conspiracy thing going on there that he really needs to be concerned about. Um, any expectations over these last couple of games other than maybe Terry Rozier getting pinched down in Miami before the start of the game?
Oh, I mean, Tyler Hero was named to the All-Star team. If you look at his stats look great. When I watch him play on League Pass, defensively he's still a mess, but offensively he's been really good this year. So I think that's a guy that you may want to just throw Derek White or Holiday at and try to take him away because he really is. I mean, Rozier does some, on like creating his own shot, but right now it's really Tyler Hero is really the only guy who can create his own shot on Miami. So I think you really try to throw size at Bam tonight, length at Bam. Whether that's Kada and Kornet getting a lot of playing time tonight, I think would make sense. And then you try to figure out how to slow Hero down and make things difficult for him. Just don't give him space to work. I think that's the key to tonight.
Yeah.
And then on offense, if you're locked in, you know what to do. You go after Tyler Hero.
Yeah, you go up to Tyler. So, Andrew Wiggins is obviously over there in Miami right now. It'll be interesting to see how they use him against Tatum or Brown, especially if one of those guys sit tonight. He's obviously had success.
He's going to fit in well in Miami, don't you think?
I think so, but he kind of fit well in Golden State until he just didn't anymore, and it's kind of been the Andrew Wiggins experience. I think he just is who he is at this point. A guy that obviously there's some talent there. I think there's some intangible things that show up sometimes, and other times.
Well, he's better than Caleb Highsmith, whatever the hell his name is. They can
Oh
take that
yeah,
guy.
no, he's better than him. He's not as good as Jimmy Butler. Like he's going to be
Yeah.
a solid player for them, but I don't like you. There's a reason you've never really game planned with Andrew Wiggins in mind in this league
No.
before. So
I am excited to watch a guy to keep an eye on. I think Miami got really beat up for drafting this guy over the kid that the Lakers got, and I can't remember his name on the Lakers, the white kid who can score, Dalton Kennett. But Kevin Ware, looks like Miami was right with that draft pick. He might be, he won't get Rookie of the Year, but he might be one of the more talented players in this draft class.
Yeah, no, he's been good. He's been good.
He has, yeah. So that's a guy to watch tonight. But I mean, if the Celtics don't show up, they'll lose. But if they try, they'll they'll blow them out. So we'll see what happens. It is Miami, so there is a chance the Celtics are present tonight.
There is.
Yeah.
I just think this is a very mediocre basketball team, and
it's the story of the Miami Heat.
and even more mediocre, even talent-wise, than they have been in a long, long time. I think there was some infusion of talent with the trade with Andrew Wiggins, but for the most part, you look at that roster and it's underwhelming.
Oh, big time.
And so I don't know what to expect from the Celtics.
And the
tonight.
thing is, they're stuck in the middle, so they just continue to draft like those, the Miami Heat culture guys.
Yeah,
but those culture guys, they're not very good.
No, they're role players.
Yeah,
they're role players. They're good role players, and they only really help you if you have a good team. But if you're trying, they just keep you in the middle. Otherwise, where the best thing for Miami to do is probably to get in the lottery at some point.
Oh, and somebody tonight.
I think there's a real argument to be made that they should trade Bam Adebayo in the offseason. I mean, if you're being honest about your team.
I think him and Tyler Hero both. This is probably the most value you would ever get for Tyler Hero would be this offseason. But I tonight, somebody run through that Bam screen. He goes to set that illegal screen. Somebody just run right through his chest. Because he's going to set 25 of them tonight if you don't.
Yeah, no, he always sets illegal screens. And that's, you talk about the 3-point foul being an infuriating call. The screen call has been the most confusing call to me in the league for a long time. What's actually a legal screen,
right.
What actually isn't, and it's just so incredibly inconsistent. I'm much more excited about the Wednesday night game. To me, that's just seeing Wemby and seeing Fox, those two guys together. That's going to be a connection that's going to just get better and better as the seasons go by, and it's not going to be too long until the Spurs are actually a top team. And what's nuts, and I didn't realize this from that trade, is the Spurs own the Hawks pick, there's some protection, but if it went to the first pick of the draft, the Spurs would have it.
Yep.
So there's an outside chance that they could have Cooper Flag and Wemby, which is,
Yeah.
of course,
Probably not going to
now it
happen.
feels like since it's an outside chance that it's the Spurs, it's going to happen.
I don't think so.
No, it's unlikely, but it seems like
Yeah.
they are absolutely hilarious. Mike, here's my advice question, and I only have a couple minutes here, but every year at the Super Bowl, there's a halftime show, obviously.
Yes.
And it feels
they
like,
haven't been very good recently, but yes.
particularly, there are certain halftime shows that make people very, very angry.
Oh,
And
well, certain kind of
they have to
person.
go off online about how they
Mhm.
feel. And
Yes.
what is your
Yes.
advice to those people?
I was with them last night at a Super Bowl party. It was very unexpected. I'll just put that out there. The crowd that I was with, good mix of racism, if you're into that thing, and very, very upset about the halftime show. And you can guess their political party if you'd like to.
Yeah, I can assume. So, what would you tell people like that, leading up? Because you know who the performer is going to be, right? So that's the thing that gets me. Is like what the performer is going to be. If you don't
Well,
like
that's the
the
thing, Jim. I
music,
knew
you don't
who it
have to
was,
watch it. You
but
don't
I
have to
didn't
listen.
know. Here's my thing, and I'm not a MAGA, okay? So before I get labeled that for what I'm about to say, I didn't actually know who Kendrick Lamar was because I guess I wouldn't be able to point out like that song and say that's Kendrick Lamar. There were a couple songs last night I was like, oh, that's like the song they play in all the commercials for the NBA on TNT. I thought the halftime show was horrible. Like there was no rhythm. The dancers didn't even like really dance. Like I thought it was horrible. Like I couldn't even understand what the dude was saying. So I'm just gonna put that out there. But go back. What kind of advice
Did
am
it
I
make you
giving?
angry though? Like you
No.
might just not like his music. Does it make you angry? That's about that. Like,
No. No, there was nothing really to be angry about.
yeah. Like people get angry. Like, and
Mhm.
that's a part I just don't understand. Like, I don't really get. Like, there was one band that performed the Super Bowl halftime show a few years ago. A band that I just think sucks. And I made some jokes about them online, but
Oh,
like,
the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
no, I
Oh,
like the Red
sorry. I
Hot
think
Chili
I
Peppers.
think they suck. Sorry.
Oh, okay. They sing the song Yellow Moon or something. Well, anyways,
You really like the chili. You can't even understand what that guy's saying.
I've always liked the Chili Peppers. Yeah. But again, so what is your advice to people that like, I guess they want to be angry? Like,
Yeah,
there's
hey,
no other explanation for it.
you know what? My advice to those people, stop hiding at your Super Bowl parties with all your like-minded folks and doing it there where nobody can see you and going on to Facebook where, it's not really out there. Like, go out in the world and be yourself. Go out in the world and show everybody who you are. Stop saying the little racist jokes behind the walls and go out there and be yourself. Let us all see you. You're angry. You don't like lots of things. And at the end of the day, you didn't like the black person doing the halftime show yesterday. And so just go out there and be yourself and talk about it. That's my advice. Because I
It sounds
think,
like you were with a rough crowd today.
yeah, I'm going to say that.
How did they handle Samuel L. Jackson being Uncle Sam? Were they okay with that?
No, that was upsetting to them. I was trying to figure out his purpose, but I couldn't. But
See, I have his song DNA on my playlist, so when he sang that, I recognize that. But no, I'm
is
not
that
a
the
huge.
loyalty inside my DNA or something?
Yeah, I don't. I'm not a.
I recognize that song.
Yeah. So
I guess I'm bad the kids.
beyond that, I don't know. But that's
It felt
fine.
like a halftime show for like younger kids. I don't want to call them kids, but like I don't know, 20-something-year-olds. And I felt pretty aged out last night. If I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is fine. It's probably the way it should be.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like an Instagram-y fail. I don't know, like a.
Well, I mean, we're 45.
All right, my real advice, that was me being angry at those people. My real advice is like take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, maybe talk to a therapist. Ask yourself, why am I so upset about this? And have like a real reflection about like what's bothering you. Do a real inventory about why you hate so much.
Yeah. Why this makes you so angry? If you're getting upset about this, what else are you getting upset about? Is I guess the real question. So,
I mean, it was too much DEI at the football game yesterday. That's why Kansas City lost.
that's right. All right. On that note, we're gonna close up shop, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
All right.